We are wrapping up February 2024, so we're going to talk about the things that I did, the things that I worked with, and the decks that I used. My name is Annette. This is Project Refine Life. One of the things here in Arizona is spring training. So we went to Old Town Scottsdale, and that's just one of the places that we normally go and just walk around. But man, it was buzzing in Old Town Scottsdale. So interesting that one of the busiest days, I turn and look at a store that somehow or another I've never been into, which is bananas. So it's called the Native Art Market in Old Town Scottsdale. It's an indigenous owned, family owned, female owned store that is a collaborative store where everything is handmade, and they feature everything from soaps and lotions and pottery and textiles and jewelry and coffee and tea that is all native made. And it was an amazing little store. I really liked it. So if you ever go to Old Town Scottsdale, make sure to check out Native Art Market. That is their physical location. They do have a outdoor like air market as well once a month. So that is something to look out for. I will put all the links below, but while you're in there checking out all the things, make sure to check out the music videos that are always showcasing indigenous artists. So really cool. Another thing in February, one of my most frustrating things was buying a new printer and setting up the new printer. So I went and bought one printer. I spent all day trying to figure this thing out and trying to set it up. It was horrible. I ended up taking that printer back. I didn't like it, and I got a brand new printer. So when you look at my journal, you're gonna see that everything looks really pretty now. But that didn't happen till about midway in through the month. Oh my goodness, the crazy things that we need to do. And I put off buying a new printer for so long. It was actually kind of crazy. So last month I asked if you guys wanted to see the crystals and things that I've worked with through the month. So I'm going to go ahead and feature some of these here. One of the crystals that I worked with this month was Veracruz Amethyst. And this is such a beautiful, soft, loving motivator. I love Veracruz Amethyst. You know, before I got this one, this is from James over at Light of Raga. And I will, of course, put his links down below. I had these little tiny ones, and I never thought before that I would be able to get a hold of something this sizable in Veracruz Amethyst because it's pricey. But it was very reasonable through James, and I love this person. I love this little guy. It is just beautiful. Such a very activating stone. So it heals the crown and the third eye chakras, and it aligns us and connects us to our guides so that we can be of service. And what I was looking for in the month of February were things that could align me and connect with my heart and with my emotions, because I have been so overwhelmed. I have been tired. I needed things for my heart chakra, and so this obviously was one of them. It was just a beautiful stone to work with, and it works on compassion and kindness and nurturing, not only for myself, but also to give that to others. Because one of the things I do, of course, is yoga and workshops and stuff like that. So this was very important for me to work with this past month in February. I loved it. And then rose quartz was one of the crystals or the stones that I thought of immediately, being Valentine's Day and stuff, and all this unconditional love that it carries. So rose quartz is soft and it's gentle, and again, another compassionate stone that brings in peace and healing and tenderness and nourishment. It's just beautiful. And this one is really interesting. It has like these lines in in the crystal itself. I wish that I could show you a little better. It does have a couple little rainbows in here as well. This is just a beautiful little palm stone, and I have really gotten to the point, like sometimes I really love these because I can feel into them. See, like this quartz, this well, not quartz, but amethyst, which, you know, all grows in line from that. But you have all these little, you know, things here going on. This is a beautiful one because this one really tells a story. But so with some of the things that I get, like I really love to like rub on them when I'm holding them. And then these little palm stones, these, like I can get them, I can hold them, I can place them on my mat when I'm doing my own personal practice, and then pick them up and hold them throughout my practice or during my meditations. It's just a beautiful thing to hold and to just, you know, bring that feeling of compassion and love, and the idea of contentment, which was really, really important to me this past month, is just working with the idea of contentment. Now, another crystal that I worked with was clear quartz. And this is a really, really clear one. This is one of my most treasured ones because I just love that it has all of this going on in the back, and then you have these clear little areas here, which you can really see all the little lines on the side. This is just beautiful. And clear quartz is the master healer. This is the master crystal. So whatever you need to work with, clear quartz kind of sets that into action. Whatever intent you need or whatever you're looking to gain, you can program into clear quartz and you can work with it in that way. And it helps you clarify. It helps you really zone in on areas of your life that you need to focus on more, or helps you with your spiritual growth. Clear quartz is like this is if you can only get one crystal. I always say, like with poses, like if you can only do one pose, if you can only get one crystal, if you can only get one essential oil. Well, when it comes to crystals, this is it. If you can only get one, invest in clear quartz because you can program it for anything that you need. It is just beautiful. And I worked with this again a lot. And then this one too, see, like it has all these little things. I hope you can see it. It just a way for you to just move around and feel into all of these little edges. It's just beautiful. So let's go ahead and look at some of the essential oils that I chose to focus on this month. So this is jasmine. Now jasmine is extremely expensive. And so this you can pick up like at Mother's Market in Orange County. I know that in California they have Mother's Market. Sprouts, they always have this brand here. It's not like a pure or an absolute type of form of this oil, but you know, it does a trick. It gives me what I need. I had to smell it. I love jasmine. Jasmine reminds me of my mom. Another thing, my mom grew so many flowers, and this, of course, was one of them. She grew these jasmine plants on the side of the home, and when it would start warming up, the jasmine would start flowering, and they're these beautiful, delicate little white flowers. And the aroma, she used to open up the windows on the side of the house, and it just filled the entire home. But it's just lovely. And for a few years I used to use, I'm sorry, there was a big noise on one of my windows and I don't know what the heck that was because I'm on the second floor at this point. But for a few years I used jasmine at the end of yoga, and I would go around and let everybody, you know, put some in their hand. After COVID, I didn't do this anymore. I didn't use that practice anymore because you just don't want to be touching and all that stuff. So I've just kind of stayed away from that at this point. I do that only now with personal clients, but not in a class setting anymore. But jasmine is perfect for that time when you just want to relax or you need to just focus. It's known for these physical and emotional and spiritual needs. It's a beautiful and wonderful aid, as I just mentioned, for meditation and savasana, those times where you just want to relax. Physically, it possesses antibacterial properties, and it's great, actually. I wouldn't use this one so much. This is, just a cheaper version of it. But if you can afford, it's really it's expensive. But if you can afford it, it's a good quality jasmine. Is even great for minor cuts and skin irritations. Now, I want to be very clear because some of this, yes, I'm reading from my brain, but some of this I'm reading from originalbotanica.com. And the reason that I'm mentioning that is because years ago, I sell doTERRA oil as well, but really I don't sell it. I just buy it for myself. I don't really sell it. If somebody wants something, I'll order something for them. But years ago, I had a blog and I talked a lot about essential oils, and man, the FDA came down so hard that I had to delete absolutely everything that was on my blog, and I had to get rid of everything because you can't talk about natural things without people getting upset. So I always preface it by saying that, there's a source for this information, Original Botanica. But yeah, I love jasmine because it has so many benefits. It really does. And now this one, patchouli. Holy moly, guys. Patchouli is one of the most grounding essential oils that there is for me. It is calming, it is grounding. It's believed, I'm going to just say that, it's believed to have protective properties. And I love to use patchouli right before I go out and teach because it is so grounding. It just anchors me. It just allows me to just tap in and to just root down. So I combined these two a lot this month, and I was putting them into candles and using them together on myself. And then before I would pull cards, I even used a little bit of jasmine and kind of rubbed it on my hands and put it like on the outside of the box and on the interior of the box, just to give the cards a little bit more grounding or a little bit more uplifting or a little bit more calming energy. So if you don't want to physically touch your boxes, you can always just open them up, maybe put a little drop if you'd like, and then kind of rub it in your hands and just rub it on the inside of the box. That's always a neat little idea when it comes to working with these things. All right. So we spent a lot of time on that, but you guys asked for it. If you don't like it, you can just flip through, keep going. All right. So this is my journal for February. Here's my cacao invocation. My cacao invocations are from an online source. I think it's Oro or Ora Cacao. I love their invocations so much that I'm just always going to put them, unless there's another invocation that I want to start out my month with, other than their cacao invocations. I don't care if I did the same one last year. It's okay. It doesn't have to be new and improved. There just has to be something for me to ground with my initial cacao ceremony so that I can step into the month with a general feeling or idea, something that I can read while I'm in ceremony at that time. So this is the February cacao invocation. It might have been, or probably was, in last year's journal as well. So the art, I don't do this, guys. I find it online, I print it, I maybe color it in a little bit and add a few things, and that's it. But I thought this was just perfect because I really was feeling like I need some spiritual medicine. I need some ceremony. I need some ritual. And that just kind of filled that idea of doing the work this month. So I felt that that was perfect. Oh, this is a little card from Native Art Market that I picked up. So I think there's a little QR code right there. So there it is. Tools used. I have everything written down, and we're going to go ahead and go through that right at the end. This is my calendar that I always put in my journals. Now I've been doing this for a little bit and I really like it. It's from 4pillars, the4pillars.net. If you want to look for one there, they always have that available. So I like to have it printed and available. So this is to work with the Mayan calendar. And then this is my goddess of the month. And I'm doing this a little bit different this year. So this time, last year, I put the picture and I was writing it all out. I decided that I'm changing it this year. So I'm just putting as many pictures that are relevant or that I can fit in here and still take little notes so that I can work with that energy for the month. In bulk. In bulk was a very quiet kind of a ceremony for me. I took it a little easy, and I found a really cool poem that was from Wee Moon, and I think that was from last year's calendar. I don't think it was from this year's. It was last year or the year before, something like that. But it's called The In-Between. Beautiful, beautiful poem. You might want to look for that. And this month, you know what? I started off pretty good when I started working in the journal. I really did. I was doing my soul care Sunday. See, look at this. See, my printer was just like, I'm tired of you, lady. Like, you need to replace me. You need to give this a rest. And depending on what colors I was printing, like it was okay, or then it got to the point, like after this here, I had to just stop. And then I went and bought the other printer, and I was having a really hard time managing with that printer. I've gotten used to a certain type of printer, and so for me to change and kind of, it was a downgrade really. I just couldn't do it. It didn't have the functions that I needed. So, but coming into, look at that, was 7 days in. I was already beginning to have a really hard time. I was having a hard time focusing. There was a lot going on, and so it was just a bit much. This, as I have said to you guys before, I have been a member or a Patreon member of the Forager's Daughter Tarot on Patreon. It's $3 a month. I keep talking about it. She is taking a break in the month of March, and it's good for her because she does a lot of work. I'm just at the lower tier, and I know that she has more work in the other tiers. So, but I'm thankful for what she offers for such a fantastic price. It's really a great deal. I did talk about some of the oils. See in here too, I used patchouli here. This is for the new moon in Aquarius, and I just did a releasing and calling in ceremony for this month. I kept it really, really simple. Let's see what else. This is my reading, and again, I really feel like it's necessary for me to put in some of my yoga flows, especially when it's like new moon or full moon, because for me, that's part of the ceremony. That's part of the ritual that I have within my practice, is to include the ceremony, because even though a lot of the people that are there might not realize it, it means a lot to me, and everything is very intentional. Here's my Sunday soul care and more decks that I'm working with. Because I was really having a hard time this month, I did like 2 weeks worth of working with the loving kindness meditation. So I wrote the script and I had it available because sometimes my brain forgets. So this is also known as the metta meditation. Loving kindness was just a way of bringing it to the States and making it popular. Oh my goodness, I forgot his name. Andrew Well. The same guy that created all the, oh my gosh, it's gone. I forgot the name of the restaurants that he has here. There's one locally. I know there's one in Orange County. Anywho, loving kindness meditation, you might want to look it up. There's tons of them online, but it's a way of sending love and kindness to yourself, to others, to someone neutral, to someone who's difficult that you're dealing with, and then to all beings everywhere. So I really needed that, so I included it and worked with it in its most natural form within some of my classes. And then the following week, I followed up and then made it a little bit different. But we were still working with that type of energy. And then within the Mayan calendar, we came to the end of a solar year. So at the end of the solar year, unlike the Gregorian calendar, there's 5 days that are the in-between. So there's 5, what they refer to as directionalist days. And these are days for you, it's like a void, you know, in the regular lunar calendar. I'm sorry for that noise. I don't know what that was. Somebody's getting crazy out there. In the lunar calendar, there is a void of course. So this would be recognized, these 5 days would be recognized as that void of course, where it's time to meditate, to reflect, to wrap things up. It's really not a time for you to set in motion anything specific. So this was just a writing all about that specific time. Now, in addition to working with that loving kindness meditation, I did a couple of different other meditations. One was the welcoming love meditation. I really enjoyed this meditation and working with it, and everybody that I worked with it, everybody within my classes and stuff that I use this meditation with, really loved the meditation. And then just started practicing some self-love rituals as well. And so this was for February 14th. This was all for that Valentine's type day. And then see, I'm still writing that we're in the void. And what was interesting on this day, the February 15th, I was just talking about being in that void, that time of void within the solar calendar. This is the card that came up on the 15th, which was void from Roots and Wings. And I was just like, yes, exactly. We are in the void. So I had to write that down. This, a call for justice. Guys, there's some horrendous things going on over here in Gilbert and Mesa and Queen Creek and Chandler. Man, I just... Okay, so I want to be very careful as I continue with this, because I don't want to say any trigger words for YouTube or other people, but there was a horrendous thing that happened at a Halloween party, and this young man's life was ended. So Maricopa County had decided not to prosecute, just flat out, we're not going to prosecute a couple people here that were implicated in this. And so I was so frustrated. I was so upset. It's a really big deal here. And if you're from this area and it's not a big deal to you, then maybe you want to relook at what is happening here, because it's a big deal. It's a big deal. He was 16, and it's just, I just don't understand how parents aren't parenting. And I'm just going to say that because I was upset. I was really upset. So this, I don't normally do spreads like this and asking the tarot for things like this, but I needed some deep answers. So this, I'm still upset about that. And I'm going to be upset about that for many months to come. All right. So moving on. This day right here, this was a gentle fitness. This was a fitness jam that we had at the YMCA. This was early on a Saturday morning before one of my other classes. And it was like, it was really cool because it was like 2 hours worth of instructors leading classes. And so I would pass off to another teacher, and then he would pass off to another teacher, and then they passed off to another teacher. It was really cool. So it was a very gentle morning. I started the morning, so it was very gentle, very calming. And I just wanted to bring everything onto paper here and put it down. It was a really cool morning. And this, that got all messed up there. But this was the final closing day of that 5-day void period. So this is the day of forgiveness, and I did a self-inquiry meditation. Now let me cue you in to some of these. So this is by, and oh my goodness, see, I don't want to get it wrong, but I'm going to put the name of the creator of the self-inquiry meditation, which I have absolutely loved. So the self-inquiry meditation is created by Shanti Perez. So the self-love meditation was something that I heard on the Substack of the creator of this deck here, Yantra Wisdom. I've talked about this deck so much because I love it. It's one of my very favorite decks. I really love working with this deck, but she has an incredible Substack. I will include her information down below because she has some really good meditations, and I've been listening to her meditations as a way of working through some of the things that I needed to work through in February, and I went ahead and just dictated her meditation. I may have changed a couple of things here and there just for me, but I love her meditations. They're so, so good. So if you're interested in Substack, I know I mention Substack quite often. They have some really good content in there. So here we are beginning the new solar year. So this was all about that. And then I did a nice limpia because on myself, on the house, everything, there was a cleansing that needed to happen in order to step into this new energy. And again, now here, if you can see here, it started like back here on the 17th. Oops. I kind of stopped with Tarot and Oracle, working with them in readings for a few minutes because I don't know, it was just, I was having just a really hard time even deciding what to work with. I started pulling like just Tarot or just Oracle, which if you've been watching me for a bit, you'll know that's just not the way that I work. And I just needed that time. I just needed a break. I really did. So that's what I did. I kept working with like the energy of the day rather than working with Tarot and Oracle. I was just doing a lot of meditations and a lot of working with the crystals and the oils and just trying to ground myself in and just trying to find calm and peace because I really, really needed it. This is the full moon in Virgo. So again, this is from the Forager's Daughter, and this is the Way Home Tarot. Okay, another big time, big deal here within my practice. And as a teacher, there was so much that happened in February, guys. It was a really, really hard month. I am so looking forward to being in March, even though it's going really fast. I'm so done with February. I stepped into my yoga class one day and we were just about getting started, and then the husband of one of the students walked in and was telling her that they needed to leave, that there was an emergency, and she really didn't want to leave. So he had to tell her right there and then that there was a loss within their family. And in this case, it was a 16-year-old. And I really love this student. She is just a beautiful, beautiful woman. I just love her so much. Again, she's one of my snowbirds that comes in every year. And I held her. I kind of lost it there with her. The room was packed. I had so many people in the room on that day. And everybody in the room was emotional. It was such an emotional day. It was a lot to process because not only for her, but for her children, for, the siblings of her grandchildren, for everybody that's going to be affected. Because when you lose one person, it sends a shockwave in so many directions. It's really, really hard. And for me, it hit really hard because I lost my son when he was 17. And you know, the loss of a life when they're so young, again, going back to that situation with Preston Lord, it's just a lot. And then there was another loss that was on the internet as well. Their name is Nex, and oh my goodness, it's just so much. So I found myself in front of this class who was waiting for yoga, and we got hit with this immediately upon starting the class. So I had to immediately begin to facilitate this idea of loss to the practice. I had a certain thing scheduled and in mind for the class, but I had to shift. You know, I had to change. I had to refocus the energy of the room and give them a practice that felt appropriate at that time. And that's not this one, because it was so emotional for me. It was really hard because I was holding back the tears the entire time, and you could hear it in my voice. I know you could. There was no denying it. I wasn't shedding tears, but man, I was on the inside. It was horrible. It was horrible. But it was a whole thing about facilitating loss and presence and being aware of the energy within the room and how to facilitate that, how to work with that. So when I came home, I pulled intentional cards again. Again, I'm working with this idea of being very intentional within my practice. So I pulled out the Reclaim Oracle. I went through the Reclaim Oracle. I did not work with the guidebook. I just pulled out cards that talked about what I needed to talk about. So, you know, it was offering support, being present, finding stillness within our practice. So that is some of the things that I talked about here within my journaling here, because that is what I had to do. I had to recognize the loss. I couldn't deny the loss that we had all just witnessed, the loss and the breaking down and how you feel as a result of loss. And then I needed to be supportive, not only to her, but I also needed to be supportive to the rest of the class, and then find my true and authentic voice in the process. And remembering that it is my purpose. This is my purpose. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because of those specific things, because of loss, because I needed support. That has driven me to my purpose of doing the things that I do, and why things are more important to me than others. During the class, I worked a lot on finding stillness. So it was more of a yin type practice than anything we would get into a pose and allow ourselves to feel it. We had to be okay with being still. It would have been really, really simple to get in there and just work through the class and just flow, just go from one flow or one pose to another pose to another pose, and not allow our bodies to process and our emotions to process. But I felt that it was necessary to find some stillness in all of this. We really did. And I wanted everybody to allow themselves to feel some sadness from this, because I was feeling sad. Everybody was feeling sad. But be present. I had to be present for everybody. And it was, it was intense. This was also the day, this was on the 26th, where we were celebrating our 6 years here in Arizona. And so I had to write about that too, because 6 years here in Arizona, I'm like, I am so happy to be here. I really like Arizona, but I'm going to be honest, there are times that I really miss California. I miss driving down to the beach and being there in 15 minutes and watching the sunset. I miss all the free little things to do, all the museums. I miss just being able to go hiking, within 5 minutes of me. And I mean, there's plenty of hiking opportunities out here. They're just not as simple and accessible as they were to me when I was in California. So there was, it was a weird day for me. And I think maybe the whole idea of what I was processing from earlier in the day, that same day, really did have a lot to do with the loss that I was feeling of being in California. Because even after I lost my son, we stayed there for several years, and then finally we moved, you know, several years later. But, you know, that really took a while. That took a while. And I think that I really kind of needed that break. Okay, so now we're going to talk about basket decks. So I created a video in which I talked about basket decks. I need to bring this journal out again because this was part of it. I brought out a basket last month, at the beginning of the month, and decided that I was going to work with a certain amount of decks, that I really wanted to stay focused on these decks. And I had never really, I've done this on a couple occasions before, and it always kind of drove me crazy. So I wanted to see if I could do that, and thought that I would continue to do that for this year, just so that I could get through some of the decks that I have and to work with them, to be more aware of working with my decks and which ones I'm pulling and stuff. So I pulled out a number of decks. I will put a link to that video. But there's a couple of decks that I ended up taking out, and I didn't work with the total amount. So I was focused on tarot decks and figured that I would just create like this basket deck around these 10 main decks. And then I gave myself a couple of honorable decks to work with. So let me tell you how that turned out. I had 12 mentioned. So I had the Goddess of Love Tarot. I had the Be With Your Body Tarot. I had the Kai Tarot Love. I had the Lioness Oracle Tarot. I had the Inner Light Tarot. I had the Self-Love Tarot, which is here. I had the Slow Tarot, and then my honorables were Circle of Doors and Sweet Fool. Now the decks that were also in here, the other 3 decks that I had picked out, were the Taraki by Mr. Freiborg, the Tarot de Luz, and the Tarot of the Drowning World. Those are the 3 that I did not end up working with, nor did I work with my Circle of Doors and Sweet Fool. So I did add in one deck, and that is the Tarot Landscapes. This was a deck that I bought in February, and I really enjoyed working with. So this was the focus of my February. These are the tarot decks that I focused on. What's not mentioned here, and I said that right from the beginning, are any like new moon, full moon decks, or anything that was intentional, like intentional use type decks, which I just shared with you that I worked with the Reclaim Oracle. But this was the basis of my practice here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 decks. I ended up working with 8 decks as the basis of my practice. Can you believe that, guys? Because I cannot believe it. I feel like I usually work with a lot more than that, but this is what I settled in on. And so I'm just going to share with you some, at this point, after all of this. I know this is a really long video. I really don't do this very much, but I'm adding a couple of things into this video. I'm going to share with you some of the favorite pairings that I work with based on this basket. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm not going to even open this up because we all know these decks. So I worked with the Wild Unknown, and I worked with the, oh my gosh, what do I always forget? The Spirit or Animal Spirit deck. And that was for Imbolc. So that was my Imbolc deck. And now let's go ahead and look at Kai Tarot Love. Because what I'm trying to do is work with the decks that I currently have in my collection, and just rotate more without bringing in so many new decks. But if you saw my other video in which I shared my new and gifted decks, I have a whole box worth of new decks, new to me decks that came into my collection this month, which is spectacular. I can't even believe it. I still can't even believe it. But this is the Kai Tarot Love. And these are two decks that I've really enjoyed, but they've just gotten a bit of a break lately. They haven't really been in the rotation. And it doesn't mean that I don't like them. It just means that maybe I just didn't find something to work with it together with. So I was glad for this particular combination. So this is the Kai Tarot Love. And this here is the Spirit Animal Wisdom. This is a few years old. And then this is the Earth Alchemy Oracle. And these, I didn't work with them all three together. I worked with, you know, the tarot and this oracle, and then the tarot and this oracle. But seriously, you could work with them all together. Look at how beautiful these look, guys. I really liked working with the pairing of either of these, and now that I'm looking at them all together, I think that I should work with them all together, because this is more people. You have animals here, and then you have your earth elements here. I really kind of like, oh, see, now I'm inspired. I love the combination, the softness, the beautiful colors of working with these pairings separately. And I think I'm going to have to work with them together because they are absolutely gorgeous, and I do like what I'm seeing here. So that was one pairing that I really enjoyed working with. Another combination, I think I've worked with this one before, but I really love them together. This was part of my Soul Care Sunday type of deck readings. So this is a Self-Love Tarot. I've loved this deck for so long. I love the body shapes. I love that none of them have any clothes, even though I love clothes. I just love that the idea of the freedom that is involved when you're looking at these bodies that, you know, it doesn't matter what their shapes are like. They're, you know, they're free within their bodies. I just love that idea. And this is the Creative Consciousness Healing Oracle deck. This is a deck that I normally use as like a nighttime deck, but I did love the beautiful, kind messages within both of them, and the similarities of colors, and just this overall feeling of compassion for yourself. I really enjoy this pairing. So that was one of my favorite pairings for the month. You know, guys, this is a great deal. If you want to gift somebody a deck that is just passionate and loving and caring, and they're really not too familiar with tarot and oracle, I would suggest this deck because it's appropriate for all ages. There's nothing in there that is triggering or anything like that. It's a really, really nice deck. So that may be something to consider. The Slow Tarot I worked with a few times this month. The Slow Tarot is amazing. I really, really like this deck. The art is so beautiful. So let me go ahead and show you what I paired that up with this month. I used this deck, and I am looking for some more pairings for this particular deck, and I haven't really found too many that I really like with it so far, but I'm searching. I am searching, guys. So this is the Supra Oracle, and I really like the way that these two paired up with one another. I love that the art in each one of these is just beautiful. It's beautiful, very touching art, something that you know you really have to pay attention to. Not pay attention to because it's difficult to understand, but pay attention to because it's beautiful, it's fine, it's just gorgeous. And then the Rose Alchemy Tarot was another deck that I paired up with the Slow Tarot. And this one, again, it always brings in, calls in my mom, because my mom loved roses. She had this whole row of roses that went all along the driveway, and everybody always used to comment on her roses. So those were the two other oracle decks that I paired up with alongside the Slow Tarot. This was another pairing here, Be With Your Body Tarot and the Sacred Nature Oracle. I've talked about the Sacred Nature, stating that I still need to do a video about how many decks it pairs up with, because it's just like this beautiful little chameleon of a deck that you can pair up with so many different styles of decks, which is very interesting to me, because when I first saw this deck on like the Kickstarter version of it, I thought, what am I going to pair it with? And then even when it came to indie or mass market rather, it still kept me away, because I thought, what am I going to pair it with? But honestly, this is like one of those chameleons that you can just put it up against another deck and all of a sudden it takes shape, it takes color, it takes its form, and just kind of blends in and allows you to do these beautiful, beautiful readings with it. Be With Your Body Tarot is another one that's, I love the Be With Your Body Tarot. I love, love, love this deck so much. But again, it's a little bit of a difficult match. But if you notice right here at the bottom, there's like these there's these flowers on the bottom that represent, or flowers or plants that are discussed within the deck, and it kind of matches the tones of what's going on here within the Be With Your Body Tarot, because the Be With Your Body Tarot also features plants. So if you're looking at that general idea throughout, like the bottom here, and then the coloring, and then the overall message, they're just great together. Really like them. The Lioness Oracle Tarot, again, was one of my basket decks that I really wanted to work with this month, and I did. And I worked with it alongside the Tantric Dakini, which was such a beautiful pairing. I'm sure I've done this pairing before in the past. I can't imagine that I wouldn't have, but man, these two really, really worked so well together. I really liked the readings that I got from these two. Look at these. I mean, just this whole general energy was kind of flowing through. You know, I saw this right now. I think that's Arnold Schwarzenegger. I look at it and I'm like, is that Frank Zane or is it Arnold? But I think it's Arnold. Anyhow, I used to be really into bodybuilding. Not that I was a bodybuilder, but I really loved bodybuilding. Anyhow, boy, I went off topic there. This one is just a beautiful, beautiful combination. The Tantric Dakini it's timeless, man. This thing is just, it's a little deck made out of gold, because you can pair it up with a few different things, like, you know, that collage work of it, but it's one of the OGs. So good. So the Begin Oracle was not in my basket of decks, but it's an oracle deck that I use to work with a couple of the tarot decks within my basket. So the Begin Oracle has the most amazing guidebook. It is a big, full-size, you know, book that you that you look through. It's so full of information. I love this deck. This is one of them that is just, it's just amazing. Should be, look at me, it should be in everybody's I can't say that, guys, you know, like, if you can, it's great. If you like this kind of deal, then it's cool. I like that kind of, this little funkiness within the art. I think it's cool. This is the Inner Light Tarot, and the Inner Light Tarot helped me a lot this month. It helped me more than you even saw in my journal, because sometimes I was just pulling the Inner Light Tarot and just taking some really healing messages from it. It has really been working out for me very well. I was a little disappointed when I got the deck and realized it didn't even talk about the poses, but you know what? I didn't need it to. I think if even if you're not a practicing yogi or whatever, that there's enough in here that you can just do your reading and understand the beauty in the art and the message. There's enough for both of that. I kind of take it a little bit more because, you know, I'm looking at the poses or whatever there is, but it's not all just poses. So like this, the Goddess of Wands, you know, it's just a person walking, being within this fire energy and stuff. So there's a lot that can be seen within the images. Even here with the Page of Swords, you can see all of these flowers, these petals just floating around her. So you get a sense of the energy overall within or around the pose, whether or not there's a pose included or not. So I think that these worked really well together, and this month did give me the opportunity to draw in a little bit closer to the Inner Light Tarot, which was really good because I was feeling a little bit disconnected from that deck. So that worked really well. And now the other deck that I worked with alongside the Begin Oracle was the, oh my goodness, my box is the Goddess of Love Tarot. And I loved the way that these two worked together. I really did. I think these were really, really good. I love the overall collage art within both of them. I love that both of them are a little bit funky. They're not too hard, is what I want to say. The images are potent, but they're not too hard. They're not too rough. So even if you just want to take these, if you don't want to really work with the guidebook is amazing for the Goddess of Love Tarot. But again, it's about sex magic. So if you want to look at it from that perspective, it's great. But if you just want to look at it, read in a little bit so you can see what you're working with as far as the goddess is concerned, and then work with the overall energy of the images. I think it's a fabulous deck. Again, this is one of the decks that I think is such a great deal. This is a deck that I think that everybody should get, seriously, because it's a fantastic deal. Cardstock is a little wonky, but it's okay, because the other deck that I worked with within the month of February that was not included in the basket decks was the Tarot Landscapes, because this one was new to my collection within the month of February, the only deck that I purchased. And I was kind of unsure at the beginning when I bought it if I was even going to work with it in the month of February. But as I was trying to get to know the deck, just carrying around and looking at it and reading the guidebook, spending some time with it outside of working with it, because, you know, some of the cards were a little bit challenging to me. I really wanted to work with the deck. So I thought, okay, let me see what I can get rid of. So that's why I kind of pulled out a few of the basket decks and decided to replace it with that and kind of like limit what I was working with it and together with, pairing it up with. So I paired it up with the Roots and Wings. If you saw the walkthrough that I did of this deck, you'll see that I had really good readings with this, especially when it came to that void card. When I pulled that void card and I was in that void period, I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. It was a great combination. And I did really, really like it. But you know, if you've been watching me for a bit, that one of my all-time favorite decks is the Wild and Sacred Feminine deck. And once I pulled out this deck and worked with it alongside the Tarot Landscapes, seriously, I don't know if I could pair anything else up with the Tarot Landscapes, because this just works so beautifully together. I mean, look at this beauty within these two cards. There are some suggestions that was left on this particular video that were left for me, so I am going to go ahead and explore those options too, because, you know, the thing is, if I'm attracted to this type of art, and I get a deck suggestion that would work with this deck, even if I have something that's, oh, this is perfect, I might bring something in and it would be even better, or a little bit of different energy that it could interject within the reading. Or the thing is, if I'm attracted to this type of art, odds are I'm going to buy another deck that looks somewhat similar to this particular deck. So that is it, guys. Other than my basket decks, like I said, I pulled a few out. I pulled 3 out. I added 1 more in, so I lowered the overall amount. And then in addition to that, I did have my intentional decks that I worked with this month. That would be the Ancestral Magic, and this day was all about doing some ancestral work. So, you know, sometimes I'm just gonna, you know, like in my yoga classes, guys, there can be a plan that I walk in with. But if the day is different, if the energy changes, then I must be willing to shift and change with that particular energy. Did I like the overall basket decks? I kind of did, because it kind of focuses my energy into working with a certain amount of decks. Did I freak out a little bit a couple of times a month because I looked over and I saw another deck that I go, oh, I should work with that? Yeah, it kind of freaked me out a little bit. But in addition to that, I received that whole box of gifted decks that came to me this month, and I didn't touch one of them because I knew that I was working with this basket of decks that I had already pre-planned to work with. So I think it's working in the respect that it's it's helping me work with some self-control when it comes to working with the decks and what I'm bringing in, and the energies that I'm working with for the month. Am I going to repeat the basket decks idea? I'm still kind of choosing the decks that I'm going to work with, and I'll be sharing those with you very soon. But I liked it, and I like the idea that even though I go into the basket with a certain amount of decks, maybe all of them won't get used, maybe I'll replace 1 or 2, and then I'll share those with you at the end of the month. So that's my idea, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys hanging with me. I know this is a really long video, so I appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful day from my heart to yours. I will see you later.